And the remaining scarce resources are being squandered on things like a $60 million jet for the director's personal travel so he can go golfing in Scotland or partying with athletes in Milan. In fact, according to a whistleblower account, those flights became so frequent they even delayed the Bureau's response to major incidents like the Charlie Kirk assassination or the shooting at Brown University. Credible reports also indicate that highly trained FBI agents from elite SWAT units have been reassigned to chauffeur his girlfriend.
Kash Patel facing scrutiny from Senator Mark Warner about where his focus lies on his own personal travel and interests or protecting the American public. In a New York Times op-ed, Jacqueline McGuire, a former FBI special agent of 25 years, argues there's something else that's consuming Kash Patel's attention. That is politically motivated revenge and conspiracy theories distracting the FBI once again from the danger of terrorism. Joining us, former FBI Executive Assistant Director Jacqueline McGuire. She left the Bureau following President Trump's re-election. Really good to have you. We're in the middle of a war with Iran. The threat level seems like it should be pretty high. Why are you worried that the FBI director is not focused on that?
Katie, thanks for having me. And you said exactly why I am worried, because we are in the middle of a war and the threat is elevated during these types of situations.
Tell me exactly how. What specifically?
Well, Iran is the biggest state sponsor of terrorism and has been for years. They have the blood of Americans on their hands for decades, hundreds of Americans that they have been behind the murder of. And they are behind cyber attacks. They are behind assassination attempts here in this country of U.S. citizens, to include President Trump, who they attempted, to put together a plot to assassinate. So they are always a threat, and now we are at war with them. They are an elevated threat.
So why do you believe that Kash Patel is not focused on this enough? What is the missed opportunity that you argue?
I think it's a concern that his focus is elsewhere. There have been a lot of distractions that we have read about on social media, in the news. There has been some questionable use of FBI resources. The FBI resources are limited, both in budget, in personnel, most importantly. And I understand, hopefully, that they have put bodies out to the field offices. But some of those bodies, a lot of those bodies, have gone to other things than their priority, which should be the protection of the national security of America and Americans.
Can't they point to two instances just in the past couple weeks, or few days actually, one in particular, the synagogue attack, it was a near miss. People got pretty lucky there. The sheriff said he's been in contact with federal authorities, that the synagogue was prepared. That's why it was a near miss, that they had done all the preparation they needed to. Can Kash Patel point to something like that and say, no, actually, we are pretty on top of this?
You know what? I have full trust in the expertise and the dedication of the FBI workforce, in the personnel who work for the FBI, whether agents, analysts, or professional staff around the country, to include in field offices like Detroit. My understanding from reporting was that they had done some active shooter training at that synagogue, which is great, which is exactly what the FBI should be continuing to do. We've done that for years. So the fact that they did do that they prepared those personnel, they need to keep doing that. They need to keep that focus. Their focus cannot be distractions of what and where their director is off to.
Tell me how leadership of the agency works. When you have somebody who is jetting off to places, who has a detail on his girlfriend, who's showing up at wrestling matches and the like, how does that affect what's happening beneath him?
Like I said, I have the full trust in the FBI workforce, but those are distractions for the agency. I'd much rather we talk about the successes than Kash Patel's travel and his activities outside of the office. So it's distractions. It's taking away from the great work of the men and women of the FBI. And if you don't have leadership that's focused, I worry that those resources aren't being utilized. I worry that those resources are not being really given the credit that they should be when you see all the dismissals that have happened over the past years, the retribution over the past year of firing, personnel with expertise, including those who have been working the Iran threat.
I want to play a moment between Senator Wyden and Kash Patel regarding buying Americans' data. Let me play it.
Can you commit this morning to not buying Americans' location data?
Thank you. The FBI uses all tools, Senator, thank you for the question, to do our mission. We do purchase commercially available information that's consistent with the Constitution and the laws under the Electronic Communications Privacy Act, and it has led to some valuable intelligence for us to be utilized with our private and partner sectors.
So you're saying that the agency will buy Americans' location data? I believe that that's what you've said in kind of intelligence lingo, and I just want to say, as we start this debate, doing that without a warrant is an outrageous end run around the Fourth Amendment. It's particularly dangerous given the use of artificial intelligence to comb through massive amounts of private information.
Jacqueline, do you see that as a problem or a benefit for the agency if they're trying to track down terrorism?
I think the FBI should continue to use all tools at its disposal as they continue to track down terrorism, as they continue to go after violent criminals in the United States and any threat to Americans here or abroad. I would hope that they're using every tool, every resource they have that's within the law, that's within their regulations. Yeah,
let's just hope it's not crossing into just tracking regular or everyday Americans. Jacqueline, really good to have you. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it.